Hi, my name is Brian Lightfoot, and today I'm going to be talking about the neuroscience behind learning and the ways that we ought to be developing curriculum to reflect discoveries that are being made in the neuroscience field. I was first inspired by a book called The Brain That Changes Itself by Norman Doidge. This is a really exciting book that I recommend pretty much everybody read. It's a super hope-filled set of stories centering around ways that scientists and teachers and psychologists are developing new techniques to approach people who have had learning setbacks or who have had traumatic brain injuries, strokes, and a variety of other problems related to memory and neural health. So, after reading this book, I started to think about what ways we need to create curriculum that actually helps students store long-term memory and that actually works, that's actually meaningful and develops students that are excited about learning and that perceive themselves as people capable of learning. So first I want to say that there's sort of a mantra in this book that is neurons that fire together wire together. They say it over and over in the book, and it's a great principle. It rhymes, which helps you remember it. Basically, what it means is when you store a new memory, if your multiple parts of your brain were activated during the storage of that memory, the recall will be easier because different parts of your brain have grown neurons that are wired together. So memories are connected through what you saw, your occipital lobes, through your olfaction, your taste, your hearing, and different parts of your brain are going to have neurons developed depending on which senses were engaged, and also emotions, and that might affect a sort of interconnected neural highway of memories. In my study here, I saw this quote that says, "The arrangement in the typical cerebral cortex or hippocampal neurons enables one single neuron to receive information from thousands of other neuron cells and to feed back itself and other surrounding neurons with copies of its output information. A single cortical neuron, therefore, is not alone in the place. Rather, it establishes a complex circuit throughout." So yeah, what that means is an actual memory is going to have little bits of development all through the brain connected. So as we develop curriculum, what I found was we want to engage students' senses, as many as possible. We want to use curriculum that has smell and hearing and excitement. We want emotional connection too. And overall, one of the exciting things I discovered about neuro health and about developing new memories and everything like that was that we ought to approach students on a holistic level. So, teaching students to have good sleep routines, good eating routines, good exercise routines, trying to help students have good emotional health is going to impact how well they can learn. Further, there's a lot of technology being developed, assistive technology for different disabilities, and certain things that we might have assumed are only impacting one part of the brain are really connected to other parts of the senses. So sometimes having a student who uses a listening device, they might have been diagnosed with dyslexia. We find that just impacting their hearing a tiny bit changes that dyslexia. It might even go away, and then behavioral issues start to come undone, and then confidence starts to develop, and the person sees himself differently, and this sort of holistic healing begins to happen. So we have to see the brain and the person as this really interconnected, holistic thing, rather than just trying to force people to learn. We have to try to help develop healthy students too. Besides that, a lot of what I was finding is when a person has a learning disability, there might be a specific part of the brain that isn't functioning in the typical way. So we're trying to teach them, and we're hammering something in that might sink in for a typical student, but it's not working for this person for whatever reason. There are games and curriculum being developed that specifically identify what the problem is and then seek to create really repetitive and really challenging things for students that will actually rewire the part of their brain that's not functioning typically. And that process of rewiring is difficult and frustrating, but it's possible, and that's really hopeful. So for all the students we work with, there's a lot of hope. But first and foremost, I think understanding how the brain works and how the brain develops is important, and creating curriculum that's meaningful, emotionally exciting, fun, and that uses their senses. So yeah, I encourage you all to read this book and to learn more about this yourselves as we develop curriculum, and thank you.